I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. Hello, everyone, and welcome into yet another episode of the NBA Locker Room Bubble Edition here on the Locker Room Podcast. Very excited to have you joining me. Before we get started, I do want to say follow the Locker Room on Twitter, TLR with Jacob, on Instagram, the Locker Room Podcast 615, on Facebook, the Locker Room Host Jacob, and on TikTok, the Locker Room 22. Let's get started. All right, well, the reason the Locker Room Podcast is coming to you on a Sunday instead of a Saturday is simply for one reason. I wanted to see the Los Angeles Lakers last night against the Portland Trail Blazers in Game 3 in order to report back my official assessment of the Los Angeles Lakers and of the Portland Trail Blazers. Let's recap games number 1 through 2. Game number 1, the Lakers were not ready for the Trail Blazers. The Trail Blazers were ready for the Los Angeles Lakers. Damian Lillard went out and punched them in the mouth with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Anthony Davis did not have a great game whatsoever. LeBron James did not have that great of a game. They shot the worst shooting percentage out of anybody in the entire playoff history. What happened in Game 2? A 30-point blowout, LeBron James and Anthony Davis getting to sit the entire fourth quarter. What happened in Game number 3? LeBron James happened. 38, 12, 8. Anthony Davis tacked on another 2010 night. And what do I see from these Los Angeles Lakers? Playoff LeBron James has arrived. Anthony Davis seems to be playing with a chip on his shoulder from Game 2 on. Last night he had a very big fourth quarter totaling 8 points. I see a Los Angeles Lakers team that is now starting to get the footing of a Caldwell Pope. They're now starting to get playoff gameplay from an Alex Caruso. J.R. Smith is now starting to come in and get some decent minutes. I see a Los Angeles Lakers team that is about to start wrecking these NBA playoffs. And don't worry, it was cute while it lasted. I appreciated all the people giving me a hard time for the Lakers losing Game 1. I appreciate all the people that vote on my social media page on Instagram and voted that the Portland Trail Blazers were going to wipe out the Lakers the last 2 games that we've seen. And I appreciate the fact that you all continue to hate on the greatest player to ever walk the earth, LeBron James. What did LeBron James do last night besides 38, 12, and 8? He shut you up. LeBron James has proven time and time again that the moment you start pushing the bear in the playoffs, the second that bear comes back and now he's going to bite you. And I'm sorry, but if you've ever been in a bear attack, you're done for. You're done. All right? LeBron James looks great, especially after last night. Anthony Davis came alive in the fourth quarter, something that I've been dying to see. Alex Caruso played top 3 defense. Honestly, Dwight Howard is Dwight Howard. Danny Green started to look a little bit back to normal. Kyle Kuzma's on again, off again, but he makes smart plays towards the end, which I really appreciated from a young Kyle Kuzma. Wow. These Los Angeles Lakers are now consistently starting to shoot better. They're now consistently starting to get production from Anthony Davis in the fourth quarter, and now you have a LeBron James that has officially activated playoff mode. It was cute that you decided to pick the Portland Trail Blazers. It was cute that Damian Lillard has come out and projected what a superstar he is, but now the cuteness has run its course. Beware of these Los Angeles Lakers. So Portland, I really do appreciate the fact that you activated LeBron James playoff mode a little bit earlier than normal, but congratulations, you are now going to get wrecked the rest of this series. I say it's a gentleman's sweep, Lakers in 5. I called that from the beginning. I will continue to stick to my guns. Los Angeles Lakers in 5. Moving over to another very interesting situation, let's move over to the Boston Celtics and the 76ers. Today, the Boston Celtics completed the regular sweep, not even a gentleman's sweep, of these 76ers. What can I say about the 76ers is they've been a living crap show ever since they lost to Kawhi Leonard on the luckiest game winner of all time last year. Ben Simmons, arguably the best wing defender when healthy, is now out indefinitely. Joel Embiid has never impressed me. Joel Embiid can never stay consistent. If Embiid were to stay consistent, he would be a top 5 player in this league, but he can never do it. When Tobias Harris has continually tried to lead your team to victory, you are in major trouble, especially when you have 2 superstars in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid on that team. What needs to happen? They got to go. Goodbye Joel Embiid or goodbye Ben Simmons. One of you's got to get out of there. Without a doubt, you can't keep holding on to both of them. What have I seen from Boston? I see a very young team. I see a very deep team. I see a team that is going to be very inconsistent on the offensive end, but will always be consistent in their energy. I see a Kemba Walker that I really don't like right now, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are continually carrying this franchise to victories. This team reminds me of the team that took LeBron James to 7. I mean, they basically are, except for Kemba Walker and a couple other pieces, but it reminds me of that team that took LeBron James to Game 7. Now, LeBron James was magnificent and led a horrible Cavaliers team to victory in that series, but they are a team that could make a very interesting run at this championship. Do I think that they're going to be in major trouble when they meet a Raptors team that is going to get ready to sweep? Yeah, they're in big trouble. The Toronto Raptors are deep. The Toronto Raptors can play defense. The Toronto Raptors have size. Fred VanVleet is playing like a superstar. So the Boston Celtics could definitely make a run at this championship, but they're going to have to get through the Toronto Raptors first. I like the Toronto Raptors, what they've done. You should have expected this. I did not expect the 76ers to go ahead and get swept by these Celtics, but the Celtics are a dangerous team. They're young, they're chippy, offensively inconsistent, but defensively and energy-wise, they're always bringing it to the floor. That brings me to the Bucks. Bucks at the top of the key of this. What I have said continually about these Milwaukee Bucks is the Milwaukee Bucks are inconsistent. I don't know how many times I have to keep telling everyone the Bucks have a ceiling. We saw that in Game 1 against the Orlando Magic. What happened? Giannis was made to shoot. They pushed Giannis out of the lane. They collapsed. What have we seen from Chris Middleton? Like I said, he will give you a 38-point night, then he'll give you a 12-point night. We have seen a game of 14 and a game of 2 from Chris Middleton so far in these playoffs. If you're a Bucks fan, you are not satisfied with what your team is doing, and you should be worried about what Chris Middleton has been bringing to the court. We all already knew that Giannis can't shoot. We all already knew that Giannis was going to struggle in these playoffs. We have continually seen that for years. I watched Giannis brick and airball 2 wide open threes in the last game against the Orlando Magic. Now, granted, the Bucks are up 2-1. Why? Because the Orlando Magic are not a good basketball team. If you want to bring up all the teams that are in the bubble, the Orlando Magic, to me, is the worst team in this NBA bubble. They're young, they're athletic, but at the same time, they have no one that can match up with these Bucks. They have no one that can match up with anybody in the East, without a doubt. Worst team in the bubble. The Bucks are limited, though. We saw that in Game 1. We will continue to see it. When the Bucks hit the Toronto Raptors, when the Bucks hit a Celtics team, if they have to play either one of those teams, which they will, the Bucks are in trouble. I do not know if the Bucks are going to be able to make it to the NBA championship. Now, for those of you who don't know who I have winning what and in how many games, go on to my Instagram, The Locker Room Podcast 615. I have posted my NBA bracket. You can follow it. And you can join in at NBA.com. But check out my bracket. I do not have the Bucks coming out of the East. I have these Raptors. The Raptors are a good team. The Raptors are arguably playing better without Kawhi Leonard. The moments that we saw the Raptors shine last year were the moments that Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing. Were the moments that Kawhi Leonard was on the bench. Who really closed out the championship game? Fred VanVleet. Love that guy. He's a great player. But I have the Toronto Raptors coming out of the East. There's nothing else to really report in the East right now. I've not been overly impressed with what I've seen. All right, well, let's go ahead and move over to the West now. We have a Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder series that is very interesting. The Houston Rockets lead at 2-1 without Russell Westbrook. I did not expect the Rockets to be this good without Westbrook, honestly. I said this on the podcast. If Russell Westbrook was not playing by Game 2, I did not give the Rockets a shot past 7. I had them losing in round 1. Now, what we saw was interesting last night was Dort was on James Harden. He bothered him. The Oklahoma City Thunder were able to take out that win in overtime. Is this a formula for success? I think it is. I'm sticking with my prediction that the Oklahoma City Thunder will win this in 7. Chris Paul looked a lot better last night. Dort's defense, even though he only had, I think, 5 points, His defense on James Harden bothered Harden. We've seen Harden struggle the last 2 games from Harden's standpoint. So if I'm a Houston Rockets fan, I'm a little bit worried because these Oklahoma City Thunder are not going to go away. They're young, they're scrappy, they're hungry. #Hamilton. Arguably the most interesting series, especially in the West, has got to be the Los Angeles Clippers versus these Dallas Mavericks. This series should be 2-0 right now. Game 3's on today. Or actually, Game 4's on today. My apologies. But this series should be 2-1 in favor of Dallas. Game 1 was the worst reffing job I have ever seen in my entire life. You have got to be joking me. No one came here to see you ref. The same ref that tossed Porzingis out is the same ref that tossed out LeBron James in his first ever career toss in a postseason game. Let that sink in for you. Overall, the officiating in the NBA sucks. It sucks. It sucks. I will say it. I don't get fined. I don't care. It sucks. It's horrible. Just because a guy yells, after every shot does not mean that it is a 3-point play. It does not mean that that is an and one. Can we stop pandering to these kids, for goodness sakes? That's what they are. When they cry and whine about every little call, they're little kids. So officiating aside from being absolutely god-awful, the Dallas Mavericks are somebody that the West and anybody in the West needs to fear in the next couple years. I have said they might squeak away out of this first round in 7 against these Clippers if Luka Doncic can play consistent. Now, Luka Doncic did suffer a leg injury. I don't know how that's going to go forward in this series, but I do know that Luka is playing today. So we'll see how he is. The game is officially on right now. I just got the notification bell. So I'm interested to see if Luka Doncic can continue to stay healthy. The Dallas Mavericks might be able to knock off the Clippers in round 1. They have nobody that can push Luka outside of the paint. He can score whenever he wants to. Kristaps Porzingis is playing the best basketball of his career, and the Dallas Mavericks are the best statistically and stat-wise, the best offensive rating team in the entire NBA in the NBA's history, especially this season. I mean, they've been nuclear. Good grief, I can't talk apparently against the Dallas Mavericks. You get me too excited. But they're nuclear. The Dallas Mavericks are a very interesting card. If Luka can't stay healthy, if Luka is not good to go 100% today, I don't know that these Dallas Mavericks have what it takes to pull it off and upset the Los Angeles Clippers. But what I will say is Paul George has officially turned into playoff Paul George. The best thing I've ever heard is Charles Barkley saying, if you're playoff Paul George now, then I'm championship Chuck. That's how it always is. Paul George is a dumpster fire, and then he comes out with an ice pack on his left shoulder and then whines to everybody because he's injured. I'm sorry, Paul George. It's because when it comes to playoff times, you are horrible. Statistically, you are worse by about 17 to 20% in the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard is the most inconsistent superstar that I think we've ever seen. He goes for 39 one night, then he'll go for 20. His defense has not been good at all. Him and Paul George together are not the best two-wing defenders in the entire league right now. Alex Caruso last night has had better defense than both of them have played in this first series against the Dallas Mavericks. Do I think the Clippers are going to pull this off? I do. Would I like to see the Mavericks upset them? I would. I think the Mavericks are not only better offensively, but I think they want it more. They're putting more energy and effort into it. The Clippers just don't look good to me. This is something that I've been saying for several months to a couple different people. The Clippers have taken themselves way too lightly. They think they can walk in and score and do whatever they want, whenever they want, and they're running into trouble now. Also, I do apologize. The sound is getting better. All of my gear officially will be in this coming Monday, so I'm very excited about that. We'll have a much quieter, much less echoey sound. But anyways, yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of these Los Angeles Clippers. Haven't been since the beginning of them, and still not in the playoffs. The Mavericks are a very good young team. They will be in championship contention in the next couple years, mark my words. All right, well, the last thing I really want to talk about is the Denver Nuggets-Utah Jazz series. Donovan Mitchell has proven himself to be a superstar over and over again, leading these Utah Jazz to a 2-1 lead over the Nuggets. What's the bigger story here? The Denver Nuggets